Kef Tamam. Welcome to another episode of World of Africa. I'm Eric Njoka. This week we highlight the return of horrific abductions to rock northern Nigeria. This time over 280 school children were kidnapped in a brazen incident by gunmen in Kaduna State. Thank you for joining us. And that's where we begin. Authorities say at least 100 children aged 12 or younger were among the abductees in the state known for violent killings, lawlessness and dangerous roads where people get regularly snatched. The Kaduna State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice has assured of government's resolve to ensure swift prosecution of the abductors, despite no arrests being made. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has also deployed forces for the rescue operation. Here's our cover report from Kuriga with our correspondent Louisa Olaniyi.
Kaduna State is in agony again. The latest abduction has angered every resident of this volatile state in northern Nigeria.
How can this gunman come and carry our children? This is the reason why I am so sad. This is a Kuriga. Please, Your Excellency, help us.
Gunmen kidnapped dozens of pupils in the biggest abduction targeting a school since 2021. The police did not immediately comment on the abductions that happened shortly after morning assembly at the local government education authority school in Kuriga town. Parents said the gunmen started shooting sporadically before abducting dozens of pupils and disappearing into the bush.
We don't know what to do, but we believe in God. We don't have security. No soldiers, no police to protect the school.
Nigerian President Bola Tinubu deployed troops for the rescue mission. Reports say that the government even accessed a private and highly influential negotiator for the mission. The Kaduna State Governor also deployed police officers to comb the nearby forest. Shehu Lawal has two sons in the school. 13-year-old Aminu Abdullahi escaped, but 15-year-old Aminu Usman was abducted. Abdullahi said the armed man numbered about 50 and was shooting in the air when they entered the school. He was lucky as he ran into the bush to hide until the gunmen left with many of his schoolmates.
The truth is, I'm not happy because of what happened. I couldn't even sleep last night. Both myself and my wife, we are troubled.
The kidnapping of 287 grade school students by gunmen in northwestern Nigeria this week is the latest in a series of such raids. The most dramatic being the Chibok schoolgirl abduction by the Islamic militant group Boko Haram a decade ago. Since 2014, around 1,500 students has been kidnapped in such raids. The kidnappings have taken place in the troubled northern region of Nigeria. Relentless violence by separatist Islamic militant organizations and bandit groups with no ideology have killed thousands of people and decimated communities.
The bandits are purely criminals. They have no theocratic agenda. They also engage in acts of kidnapping. They burn down villages. They attack farmers. They attack commuters. They attack schools. Now, bandits are simply motivated by money. They have no religious agenda. Once they kidnap, you pay them, you go.
Affected communities are often in remote rural locations where the government is largely absent.
Amidst the incessant kidnapping in Nigeria, President Tinubu has charged troops to rescue hundreds of people, including pupils kidnapped by gunmen from a school and IDP camp in the country's northern states of Borno and Kaduna. Since the infamous Chibok schoolgirls' abduction by the Islamic militant group Boko Haram a decade ago, armed gangs operating mostly in northern Nigeria have continued to spread terror through kidnappings for ransom, targeting students, women, villagers, and motorists on highways. Analysts believe children are targeted because the bandits know that it will evoke public sympathy for the pupils and pressure will be mounted on government to bow to their demands. The United States mission in Nigeria has condemned the recent abduction, pledging support on Nigerians' effort to secure their release. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olaniyi, WION World is One.
Senegal's presidential election, initially postponed, has been rescheduled for March 24th, prompting mixed reactions from citizens to a top court's ruling that holding the poll after incumbent President Macky Sall's term ends will be unconstitutional. The political turmoil in Senegal began in February when authorities tried to delay the February 25th poll to December, a move Sall said was aimed at avoiding electoral disputes, but was perceived by the opposition as an institutional coup attempt. Here's a report from Dakar.
Senegal heads to the polls on March 24th. Voters will be choosing a successor to President Macky Sall, who is not seeking a third term. For the first time in the nation's history, the incumbent is not on the ballot. So who are some of the main contenders? Prime Minister Amadou Ba has been handpicked by Sall as the ruling Benabok Yakar coalition's candidate after a party-wide consultation process. Sall said at the time Ba would be a unifying figure, but analysts say there are divisions within the BBY, which lost key cities in the 2022 local elections and a number of seats in the 2023 legislative election. Some members worry that Ba has never contested a presidential election, while most of his main opponents have. Khalifa Abubakar Sall, unrelated to the president, served as mayor of the capital Dakar from 2009 to 2018. He is one of President Sall's chief political rivals. In 2018, he was sentenced to 5 years in jail for embezzling about $3 million in public funds, preventing him from contesting the February 2019 presidential election. President Sall pardoned him in September that year. Veteran politician Idrissa Seck served as Prime Minister from 2002 to 2004 under former President Abdoulaye Wade. He was sacked over embezzlement allegations and spent some months in jail before his case was dismissed. In 2006, he founded his own party and challenged Wade in 2007, finishing second. Seck placed second in the 2019 presidential race with 21% of the vote, after which his party joined the ruling BBY coalition with President Sall. Mohamed Boun Abdallah Dionne was President Sall's third prime minister from 2014 to 2019. He was seen as one of the front runners in the race to succeed Sall within the BBY coalition. He announced his candidacy in September 2023 and launched his own coalition days after Sall elected Ba as the candidate for the ruling coalition. Entrepreneur and a political newcomer Anta Babacar Nnom launched the Alternative for the Next Generation of Citizens political movement in August 2023. She was until recently the executive director of Sedima, a leading poultry production group in the region founded by her father. She joined forces with around a dozen opposition candidates in February to fight the postponement of the presidential election when Sall issued a shock decree to delay it.
Whether I win the election or not, this government in place will go down.
Bassirou Faye is running in place of jailed Senegalese opposition firebrand Ousmane Sonko, who was disqualified over a defamation conviction. Members of Sonko's dissolved PASTEF party and other parties formed a coalition and named Faye in November as a backup candidate. Sonko later called for his supporters to vote for Faye. Faye is currently in detention, facing charges including defamation and contempt of court. He remains eligible because there has been no ruling yet against him.
Namibian communities whose ancestors were massacred by German colonial forces and had their property seized more than a century ago are calling for fresh talks with Berlin to negotiate the return of ancestral land. Germany agreed in May 2021 to fund projects worth $1.2 billion over 30 years to make up for the property seizures and killings by German colonial forces between 1904 and 1908, after the tribes rebelled against German rule. Here's a report from Windhoek.
Sand dunes in a desert in Namibia called Swakopmund is at the center of long-running disputes between the Germans and local residents. The Namibian communities are calling for more talks to negotiate the return of the land that the Germans had seized from their ancestors a century ago. Between 1904 and 1908, the Herero and Nama tribes rebelled against the German rule, resulting in the killings of thousands of Namibian people by the German colonial forces. To make up for the property seizures, in May 2021, Germany agreed to fund projects worth 1.1 billion euros over 30 years. Germany also officially described the massacre as a genocide for the first time. But the affected Herero and Nama communities argue that the 2021 joint declaration did not address the issue of land ownership.
Germany must come to a table, discuss with us, negotiate with Hereros and Namas, and together we agree on what is appropriate to repair the damage it has caused to the Hereros and Namas, wherever they are at the moment.
The joint declaration was subject to ratification by the Namibian parliament, but the process has been put on hold. This as the two governments discuss amending the joint declaration.
I think the joint declaration needs support, and it is definitely not the perfect model because the amount of compensation offered does not amount to reparations, but there is at least an offer on the table, and in the absence of anything else, I think we need to support it.
The late Namibian president, Eric Njoka, is being praised for fast-tracking negotiations with Germany. But at the same time, he is also being criticized for excluding the descendants of the affected communities from the talks. Descendants of the genocide victims say this is a deviation from the 2006 parliamentary resolution. They assert that the negotiations should be between the victims, the affected communities, Herero and Nama, and the perpetrator governments.
Our land, they are nothing. So I think we must first focus on the land, that our ancestral land must be returned back, you know. And you find thousands and thousands of the descendants of some of these slaves, you know, here. Some of them are staying in an informal settlement, and it's not their wish for them to stay there. You know, they are living in abject poverty. And then you find some of the descendants, you know, they are every morning they go to the dump site and search for food. You know, while Germany is still taking care of some of these children of perpetrators up to now, you know.
Historically, Germany was the third biggest colonial power after Britain and France. After World War I, it lost all its colonial territories, but for decades, historians and politicians ignored its colonial past, focusing on the legacy of the Nazi crimes, including the Holocaust. Formal negotiations with Namibia started in 2015. White people make up 5% of Namibia's population, but control over 70% of the prime agricultural land. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Getting a professional polishing of family copper before the Islamic holy fasting month is a long-held custom in Tunisia. Here's how they do it in Tunis.
Abdel Jalil Ayari is a coppersmith who has been practicing his craft in this copper market at Tunis' Old City. With over 50 years of experience, Jalil shares a deep passion for the craft, inherited from his ancestors. Ayari's dedication can be seen in his shining utensils after he polishes them.
During this period, people want to polish copper. Before the month of Ramadan, they want their kitchen to be beautiful. This is a passion. In these holy days, they begin to polish their copper products.
The sounds of the hammers hitting copper pots and products fill the alleyways as coppersmiths polish home utensils ahead of the holy month of Ramadan. Workshops filling the old city markets attract customers who wish to polish their old copper products that find their way to Ramadan tables in many Tunisian homes. Craftsmen say that the demand increases during the holy month as families bring their utensils for polishing.
This is the oldest workshop in the copper market and the first copper polishing workshop.
However, Mukhtar Fatnasi warns of looming extinction for the crafts. He cites the high costs and declining interest among potential young craftsmen for this.
Copper does not deteriorate and always retains its value, even after 10, 20 or 30 years. But the number of craftsmen has gone down. Young people do not want to learn this craft because it requires patience. Nowadays, young people want quick money, but this work requires patience.
Copper costs are rising. The price of 1 kilogram of the raw material is now touching 120 Tunisian dinars, which is around $40 US. IRE says the high cost of raw material has led to an increase in the price of polishing utensils ranged from 40 to 200 Tunisian dinars. That is about $12 to $64 US per utensil, depending on the size. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Dupe Kila Kafidipe runs a fishery that she says is a sustainable solution to overfishing and reducing imports. On her 2-hectare plot, she not only breeds fish but has also taught more than 100 people not to engage in overfishing in the wild, but instead practice sustainable fishing. She now narrates her story. Take a look.
My name is Dupe Kila Kafidipe. I'm the founder and CEO of Platinum Fisheries. I run this ethical and sustainable seafood production company. It was clear to me that the problem source of seafood, and we could do it ethically and sustainably with kindness to the environment, and what's more, we could teach it forward to local community members, to other women like myself. This is where we raise the eggs all the way to when we can transfer them as fingerlings to the nursery. These upper vats and lower vats contain the livestock at different stages, ranging from 7 days to 21 days. Over 85% of the seafood we consume in this country are imported. Add to this problem the situation with the economy, with the raise fish, to process fish, to sell fish. The first thing they do is there is an assurance of, if you like, meals for the family and then income generation.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of World of Africa. I'm Eric Njoka. Get in touch with us on all our social media platforms and tell us what you think about the show there. Goodbye.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injured have been moved. 61 people are confirmed dead and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America,